Welcome to The Wedding Edit, a wedding planning podcast for the modern couple. We are your hosts, Kelly and Dana. Today, we are so excited to be interviewing Dan Evans from Dan Evans Photography. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having
me. Well, to get started, tell us, how did you get into photography? Talk us through your kind of journey to the world of photography.
I guess, I grew up in the south of England. So at the age of 16, 17, my parents had a bit of a midlife crisis and decided to pack up and move to the other side of the world. So, I think before I moved out here, I was sort of just finished my compulsory education in England and was quite looking forward to either like a career in music with the band that I was playing at the time, or perhaps heading to university and sort of studying architecture, which is kind of what my dad's career entailed essentially. So, we moved over here, and it was a bit of a weird time. Obviously, I just turned 17, so it was kind of sort of at the peak of adolescence, I suppose, really. But it's quite an exciting prospect. So, we moved to Adelaide, when we arrived, we sort of tried to sort of settle down. We didn't know anyone else here. We had absolutely no connection here. We knew nobody at all. So I think my parents had joined up to some sort of migration page on Facebook or whatever it was at the time. So they had a few English people, I guess people in a similar sort of situation to us essentially. So we've got to set up a little community here of other English people in a foreign country like you do. So, but I guess I moved here and I wasn't really prepared for what I had to do next. So I assumed that I would just go out and apply for university or college or whatever it might be and sort of study towards this architecture degree. But I think at the time, my parents and I didn't really realise that the school I suppose years didn't quite align essentially. So I went back to high school for about 5 months and sort of just squeezed as much as I could have in that 5 months in order to sort of get my TER to get into university for this architecture course, and then scraped through by the skin of my teeth, and then didn't find out until the very last minute that I was going to be sort of lumped in and sort of classed as an international student. So instead of paying your usual, what's the college degree usually cost you here? 50 grand, 40 grand maybe or something?
Yeah, probably. I don't know.
It's like 100 grand and you don't get any HEC support. So, and at that point I was like, I think I might have made a bit of a mistake here. This is not why, and it's unfathomable about money for a 17-year-old kid, So
that's so disappointing.
Yeah, it kind of threw my plans out the window a little bit, and I was a bit lost, I suppose, really. So I didn't really know what to do. Like college was obviously was sort of out of the equation for at least another 4 or 5 years until we got our permanent residency. So I suppose, my transition into photography was more of a necessity than like sort of initial desire, I guess, really. So, I worked, I basically got an apprenticeship working at a design firm. So I was a graphic designer at a publishing firm and just earning a paltry sum of money. Like I was driving from like Flagstaff Hill to Tichy Gully every day, and basically all my money was going on fuel at that point in time. So I basically needed something to like supplement this awful income that I was earning. So, and my girlfriend at the time, her sister was like one of those people that sort of just geared you up all the time. She was very much like very supportive of everything that anyone did in their lives. So, and I had like a faint interest in photography. Like my parents had bought me a camera for doing well in my exams in England. So she's like, you should come grab a few family shots with some of my friends who are just having kids and stuff. And it's like, oh, okay, that's not too bad. Like, so I did a few of those sort of family shoot things. Charge like $100, whatever it is, go down to the beach and whatever. So just the quintessential early stage photography kind of journey sort of thing, really. So I think it was maybe like 6 months, a year later, I guess, that one of our friends had a friend, I think, that was getting married, and very last minute had decided that you should probably get a photographer to document this occasion. So
at the last minute.
And this is maybe 2008, maybe, I suppose. I was like 18. So and asked if I wanted to do it, and I was like, absolutely not. Sounds awful. Like the idea of just the pressure as well. I'm just not even, I don't think I'd even been to a wedding at that point in time.
So you
even
probably
as a
had
guest.
no idea what to like schedule of a wedding would look like,
And the expectation, I had no idea what that entailed really. So I had my arm twisted. And shot this wedding and wasn't too bad. They seemed to enjoy the photographs. So
Did you enjoy it? Or was it quite a stressful experience?
To be honest with you, I don't even remember
You've blocked
where it was or anything. Yeah, it was such a long time ago. I can't remember much about it really. But I was shooting on the most budget gear, like real entry level stuff. And it wasn't too bad. It was, sort of ripped the Band-Aid off and it wasn't too painful. So, and maybe a few months after that, I think I got asked to do another one, which again, I reluctantly agreed to. And then I think within 6 months, I had 4 or 5 requests. So the next year was the first year, I suppose, take it a little more seriously. So, and it just sort of snowballed from there, I think. So within maybe 2 years, I was shooting 35 weddings a year or something. Wow. And then another 2 years, it was 60, 65. So sort of
when did you leave your job? Because,
I kind of maybe it lasted a year and a half, I think. It was just getting too difficult, I think, the workload. So, but bearing in mind back then, it wasn't a particularly cool job to do. People weren't setting out to be wedding photographers. I suppose I was a bit of an anomaly in the sense that the industry consisted of a lot of older guys who wore trousers a little bit too high with their shirts tucked in. Do you know what I mean? And I suppose and a lot of it was mums who were doing it as a bit of a side hustle whilst they were raising kids kind of thing. So
you were the youngest new kid on the block.
just an anomaly, I guess, really. I suppose, it's just a kind of sort of jumped into a gap that hadn't yet been filled, really, I suppose. So, and again, I had no preconceptions about how weddings should run. So I was kind of making it up as I went along. So I wasn't really following a formula that had been, sort of running for a long time sort of thing. So, it's just a mixture of, I suppose, just being a bit naive and not really know what I was doing and sort of putting my own spin on things that sort of paved the way for me to turn it into a long-term opportunity, I suppose.
So cool.
Yeah. But I suppose, apart from that, it's just sort of been rolling ever since, really. It's been awesome.
That's so good. So what would you say would have been the highlight of your career so far?
I guess the main thing, I suppose, really is it sort of provides you with a lot of opportunities to do a lot of other things as well. It's more of a facilitator for I suppose other passions as well, really. So it's a really creatively fulfilling job. I don't want to say any 2 days are particularly the same. So I can't honestly, in terms of highlights, I suppose everything is really. I mean, it's been great for me to meet people. Obviously not growing up here, I've got no connections at all in terms of sort of friendship groups and that kind of thing. So I suppose the fact that it's offered me the opportunity to meet a lot of different people all around Adelaide, and it's Adelaide for me is a very big city. Growing up in a very small country town in the south of England, this is it's huge for me. So I suppose a little bit daunting from a social perspective, but to be able to go out now and sort of bump into people that you've met, in the street and stuff, if you get out for dinner, there's always someone there that you've met down the track at some point and having that conversation. So I suppose that for me, is super nice. So
makes Adelaide feel like home, probably
100%. Yeah. So
it's a perfect city for it, really.
Yeah. And I guess, things like travel opportunities as well. I've been to a lot of places that I otherwise probably wouldn't have got to if I wasn't working. So
what's the coolest place that photography's taken you to?
In terms of something that's a little bit different, Tonga was kind of did a wedding in Tonga a few years ago. That was a really cool experience.
Awesome.
So just from a cultural standpoint, again, this is a country that I probably wouldn't have sort of visited otherwise. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I'm really glad that I did. You sort of just driving around this awful hire car that was duct taped together basically, and just driving around taking photographs and sort of rock up to a beach and there's a bunch of giant Tongan guys cooking a pig in the back of a ute kind of thing, and so getting invited to join them for some just a spit roast pig, and some beers and stuff on the beach, and sort of them, I suppose, kind of I suppose just imparting some of their sort of Pacific Island wisdom and that kind of thing really was really awesome. Cool. So yeah.
What do you think are the top 3 things that couples should consider when choosing a photographer for their wedding?
Good question. I think the obvious one being making sure that you sort of gel with the sort of work that they're putting out, I suppose, really is kind of an obvious one. So from a visual perspective, I think it's important to be like totally comfortable and happy with the work that they're putting out. So
loving what they
pretty much,
produce,
I think being comfortable enough to like have them rock up on the day and not feel that you have to direct them or sort of remind them as to what they're doing. So I think having like complete confidence in their ability, I suppose, is probably the big one, I think, really. I see secondly as well is, I think like first-hand accounts, like if you've got someone who's booked someone before previously and they've kind of got a first-hand account as to how much they enjoyed the day and how happy they were with the work. I think, again, that's a big one. I think like a first-hand recommendation goes an awful long way, really.
Yeah, definitely.
And I guess the other big thing that people often overlook is like you can have someone that's great at what they do, but I suppose if you're not on the same wavelength from a sort of like hanging out point of view, I suppose, really, it can make it a little bit like, I can imagine it makes it a little bit difficult to spend the day with them. I suppose it's probably the one person that you spend the most amount of time with in your day apart from your partner, really. So, I think, making sure that you're getting on okay. And I think even like catching up for a drink or something, or meeting at a bar or going to their house or whatever it might be, and just like having a bit of a general chit chat just to make sure the conversation flows easily, I think is a huge one too.
Yeah.
Definitely. As a non-photographer, I'd say that you need to feel so comfortable with the person that's photographing your wedding. Like, you need to gel with them. I tell all my couples that, have a Zoom call or a face-to-face meeting, like once you know you like their work, because you need to get along well and feel comfortable, and
100%.
You're spending so much time with the photographer. So it's a very important job you guys have.
I mean, like I say, everyone's slightly different. I think some people are a bit more sort of socially, I don't want to say socially capable. That sounds horrible. But you know what I mean? Like someone that's easy to get along with, I think is like there's a few people out there that sort of lack that sort of ability to sort of carry conversation, even if it's a bit difficult. So I think having the adaptability to sort of jump into various different social circles and sort of seamlessly fit in, I suppose. You have to be a little bit adaptable in that sense as a photographer, I think, really, because not everyone that you're shooting is going to have the same interests as you. So I think you've got to have that ability to sort of be able to sort of, like I say, jump into a situation and kind of assess it, and then I suppose see the best way to jump on in, really. So
There's lots of problem solving that goes into a wedding day.
It's not just the couple you're photographing as well. Like often it's the family, and there's lots of different dynamics that happen on wedding days.
Yeah, 100%, definitely.
One big thing that I think is so important with the wedding day and making sure everything runs smoothly, and I always tell all my couples that they need to talk to the photographer about timings early on. And so I guess from your perspective, what are some of the key things that couples should be aware of when it comes to their wedding day and, ensuring that everything runs smoothly from a photography perspective?
Yeah, I've always tackled it a little differently. Like I don't have a set time plan on my day, purely for the fact that I don't necessarily like running to an hourly schedule. I don't want anyone to feel they have to sort of compromise anything to sort of work around me. So I suppose with that in mind, like we always sit down beforehand and have a good chat about sort of give some realistic expectations to how long things take. Things often take a little bit longer than expected anyway. And there's a bunch of different variables that can come into play that again can I suppose change the trajectory of your day as well also. So, but again, I think a lot of that is sort of, you can manage those sort of things in the day as well, really. I think if you've got experienced vendors around you, like they'll sort of take that burden away from you anyway. So, I guess, really, I think a lot of it sort of hinges really on your ceremony start times and stuff. So I tend to sort of work back from that and forward from that with the reception as well. And we'll sort of build it in and pad in some extra time as well. So, again, it will just sort of depends on sort of locations and stuff as well, and travel times and that kind of thing, I suppose. So, but like I say, if you've got kind of an experienced team behind you, like I'm sure they'll sort of give you a bit of an idea as to how long that sort of stuff takes and how much time to account for it. So,
do you suggest like couples talk to the photographer before they kind of send out invitations and set a ceremony start time? Because I do find like I'm starting to tell my couples to do that before they set their ceremony start time. I say just chat to your photographer, because you don't want them to feel like they're rushed.
Sure.
like the couple, and they often, you know, I've had a few couples recently say to me, you know, the night ends at this time and we don't want to feel like, you know, we're super rushed. So what time should our ceremony start time be? And I will say, well, talk to your photographer now.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, definitely. I mean, like, I suppose, you know, your photographer's got an idea as to like the best times of day to shoot and stuff, and ensuring there's enough time to get what they need. So
like the photos after the ceremony and
exactly. I suppose, you know, once like daylight savings comes into play, like you either gain or you lose an hour as well at certain times of the year. So that's often something that people fail to consider as well. I found, like, you know, particularly like April time when the clocks change and they've gone for like a 4:30 ceremony, thinking that, you know, like
I'll have it for time.
So and like, you know, if it runs over, like you might find yourself sort of like scrambling to chase the light, I suppose. But yeah, definitely. I think the photographers are usually pretty aware of like what they need to get within a certain time frame as well. So 100%, yeah. If you have a chat with your photographer and I guess sort of liaise with your ceremony reception coordinators and that kind of thing, like they'll give you a pretty good idea as to what's going to work best for everyone, really. So yeah.
So Dan, how would you describe your working style on a wedding day?
Blimey. I don't know. I'm not sure if you ask people that I work with, they'll give you some sort of strange description
what would
of it.
they say?
I don't even know, really. I sort of feel like you know, the actor Michael Cera, like Superbad,
the
really awkward guy. I feel like he at some point in his life has stumbled onto a movie like set delivering coffees and donuts, and like, right, get into place. He's been like too polite to be like, I'm not supposed to be here. And he's been cast, and that's just now his career. It sort of feels similar to that, really. Like, I never really set out to do this as a long-term job or anything. I sort of have fallen into it through, I suppose, a comedy of other sort of things that happen in life, really. So,
you're so good at it, though.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure, really. I suppose, you know, like, I think the most important thing for me is ensuring that couples have like a great time, like it's enjoyable. So, I mean, you can have like great photographs, but if you've not really enjoyed making them, then it kind of like that sort of thought and emotion is going to be attached to that for a long time as well. So, I kind of want people to look back and think, you know, like we did have a great time. But yeah, I mean, I can't really give you an accurate description, really. I suppose
Your
like
style. It's hard to describe your own style.
it is very hard to describe your own style. Yeah, I mean, obviously, like, from a photographic standpoint, I think it's about creating like I suppose a linear narrative based account of your day. So I shoot in a very detail oriented fashion. I like to sort of like take my time and I suppose like capturing a plethora of different moments throughout the day that sort of stitched together and kind of almost give you a tangible sort of account of the day at the end of it kind of thing. So if I'm walking into a house at the bride prep, like I'm taking shots of the garden on the outside, the front of the door and that kind of thing. All those little details, I think, like help in years' time sort of kind of bring back.
Important, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Rather than just rocking up and kind of getting the quintessential, like, oh, there's a bow tie going on, there's a jacket going on, right? Like, sort of, I guess it's like, not sort of like ticking things off a list. And,
like you don't really plan it as such. You just sort of turn up and think, and then sort of see what.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, like, the less I know about the day, the better for me, which is like a bit of a weird thing considering we just chat about like, chat to your photographer about organising stuff. But I like to go with a blank canvas. I mean, even like knowing stuff about the couple, like I do quite like going in, not knowing a whole heap. You can kind of build that stuff on the day and sort of get to know each other. And I find it's a lot easier to sort of like to gel. Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. I mean, if people have got a bit of a preconceived idea as to what you're about and what you're doing and how you behave and stuff, then it can kind of, I don't know, I just prefer going in a bit blind, really. Sounds very strange, but
just sneaking in, stealth.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, like my whole thing is very kind of, I suppose, voyeuristic for the most part. Like I don't really like to be. I'm not a big center of attention kind of guy. Like you get a few photographers that are like quite big personalities, and they sort of like enter the room and they're sort of whip their cape and crown off, and like I'm here kind of thing. Whereas like, yeah, I'd rather be sneaking through the cat flap at the back of the door and sort of just sort of like sneaking that way, I suppose, really. And not being that center of attention, but just documenting it, documentary style.
Exactly. We can get such good photographs that way. Like Doug and I are very opposite in the way that
as soon as people are aware the photographer's there, it's like.
They're like, let's have a photo.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, like...
yeah. Whereas if you just sneak in and start shooting, then it's probably more candid.
Yeah, and I just... I just find it a bit easier that way as well to sort of like sort of shift in. And also like, I mean, every wedding morning is different as well. Like sometimes you go there and it's like a hen pen at the girls, for example, and there's people everywhere and there's people shouting and, you know, like it's just, it's kind of a bit of a crazy sort of conveyor belt of like hair and makeup and stuff. And other times you rock up and it's like the Dalai Lama's just run a yoga session there or something. Do you know what I mean? Like, so again, I think also being able to rock up and sort of just like not have someone feel that it's got to go a certain way really. So, but yeah, I suppose for the rest of it, I mean, like, yeah, I think the having fun part, like during the portraits, obviously the time, I suppose, where, you know, you sort of get the vast majority of the magic hero shots and that kind of thing. So, and again, it changes from couple to couple. Like some couples are into the whole, you know, sort of like serious, more emotive kind of thing, and other couples it's not them really. So, and again, I think you've got to be able to sort of sit there and judge and sort of feed off the couple's energy a little bit, I suppose, really. Yeah. So, and again, that varies from couple to couple, I think, also. So,
yeah.
But for the most part, I mean, like, I think, yeah, having fun, like having a bit of a laugh, the couples obviously given, really. So, but I mean, like, there's no set formula that I follow. I don't think really. It's like I say, it's sort of, I suppose, yeah, it's all kind of down to the couple and their kind of energy and vibe on the day, really.
Yeah. So, what is the craziest thing to happen at a wedding that you've seen? Or if you can't think of something crazy, maybe something funny.
A few things.
I bet you got a few stories to tell.
In Thailand, actually, I shot a wedding a few years ago. I think the couple had booked like 3 villas, like consecutive villas on this little spread of beach down there in Koh Samui. And I think like a few weeks out from the wedding, they got a call from one of the owners who was like, we've got like a guy from the Middle East who wants to book it out for like 8 or 9 weeks in a row. Like, so we can't really turn it down. You're only there for 3 days. And they're like, oh, you know, kind of understand. But he's like, don't worry, we'll find you another like spot to house a bunch of your guests. And like, it's fine, that's not worries. Like, we understand. It's not a huge drama. So I think this poor guy was really struggling to find like a replacement villa for like 20 of the guests that were supposed to be staying there. So I think he called in a favor from a friend of his who owned or had just recently built like this palatial villa about 15 minutes away from the other 3. But it was like built to the side of a cliff, like sort of glass lift, 2 infinity pools, like private beach, like jetty for a boat kind of thing. Like it was outrageous. And it had never been lived. I think it was brand new, just been built, and it was for sale for $12 million Australian or something. So it kind of gives you some scope as to like how crazy this place was. And he's like, we found you this place for a couple of nights if you like. And they're like, that sounds great. No dramas. So, because it's a bit further out the way, like I was there for like the 3 days, I think it was anyway. So because it's a bit further out the way, no one really spent a great deal of time up there. So, anyhow, so we had the wedding. It was beautiful. Like everyone had been sort of drinking cocktails from like 1 p.m. and it gets to the end of the night and like it's probably 1 a.m. at that point, and everyone's sort of like going to usher themselves up to this villa for a bit of an after party. So I was invited up there and I thought, that sounds good. So I went up there and I sort of get up there. It's sort of almost like a scene from Project X. Like it was just kind of, yeah, a lot of drunk people. There was like furniture going in the pool and I was like,
oh gosh.
It was a bit of a, yeah, I kind of got a bit of a funny feeling about it. I was like, I'm not sure if, you know, like I want to be part of this. So, and then, yeah, there was
especially in Thailand, were you thinking, you know,
yeah,
I want to get arrested.
Like, so I was obviously pretty tired by this point. So I was going to make a relatively early exit. And one of the guests had jumped onto this like carved cow sculpture, I suppose, like a full-size cow. And I was just like, that thing's going to break. She's like riding like Seabiscuit as well. She was at the Grand National and thought it was hilarious. So everyone's like trying to drag her off and she was jumping back on again. I just got a bad feeling about this. So I was about to leave and I was like,
did you get a photo of the action?
I actually put my gear down at a point in time. So this is probably like maybe 1, 2 in the morning, I guess. So, so I was about to head back down and as I left, this cow just collapsed. It's like 50 pieces on the floor and I was like, okay. So I ended up going down the hill and like, I was like straight to bed. I was like, I just want to get to sleep and get out of here the next day because I don't think this is going to go down too well. Next morning I've woken up and like at the villa and there's like the maids are cooking you breakfast and stuff and sort of sat around the table chatting to a few other guests and there's a bit of a weird kind of somber atmosphere around the breakfast table. And I was like, what's going on? They're like, oh, like the maids came out to the place up the road this morning to like, fluff pillows and serve breakfast. And it's just like, yeah, it's just like a bomb's exploded in there. There's like, furniture. The people are asleep in the bushes. There's like furniture in the pool. And I was like, oh, and it's like, and like they've called the owner who's like called the police. And they've like basically like locked everyone down inside the building.
Oh, no.
Like sort of confiscating passports and being like, you've got to pay for the damage you've caused. And I was like, oh, okay. And they were asking for like, I can't remember what it was, maybe like $80,000 or something in damages. Like, not realizing this cow was like a gift from this very famous Thai sculptor, basically. So, and I was just like, me and a few of the other guys were like, yeah, I don't know if I want to be, want to be part of this. So we ended up literally just like packing our bags and running straight to the airport. Because I think I was there like not on a work. I was like didn't have a work visa.
That would have been terrifying.
Yeah, I didn't have a work visa, and I was like, I don't want to be in a Thai jail, basically. So, especially when I'm not supposed to be working here. So, but yeah, I think I caught with a couple afterwards, and they said that the lady had like negotiated it down to like 50 or 60 grand or something, and he was happy with that. This owner guy to fix up the mess and that, and
what?
I think she transferred the money. And her bank must have like flagged it as like a
fraudulent.
Well, kind of, yeah. Like if you're making a transaction like 60 grand to a Thai bank account, they're not just going to let it go through. So she sent them the screenshot of the fact that she'd like the payment was pending and she made the payment. So he obviously agreed to give her back her like passport and stuff and release everyone from this villa. And then like I think the couple told me like when it came to the bank contacting her, she's like, nah, that's a fraudulent thing. So. And she just didn't pay it, so
everyone got away with it.
So I'm a little bit hesitant to go back to Thailand just in case.
In case your name's like blacklisted.
Every time, last one I did in Thailand before that, they had like a big like villa outdoor reception and they lit some of those like old
lantern,
like the Chinese lantern type things. So and they were sort of singing them off and it was too windy to do it at the beach. They did it like at the reception, like amongst all these palm trees.
Oh no!
And of course, like this like lantern like hits his palm tree and it just goes up. And I was like, and then it spreads to the next palm tree and the next palm tree. And like the guys were like trying to climb this tree, like it's like 55, 60 feet high, trying to climb it with like a hose, the worst water pressure in the world.
Just a drizzle of water coming out.
Yes, they phoned like I think they phoned like a little like for the Thai fire brigade.
What's with Thai wedding?
Yeah, and on the same one as well. When we, so my partner Jazz and I went over for that one. Had a bit of a holiday. And we actually flew back because I had a wedding to shoot on the day that I landed. I think I had a day's break, and I was due to shoot a wedding on the day that I landed. And I was sort of went home, showered, got myself ready to do this wedding, and I was listening to like the Triple J news. I was like listening to this unfolding development about a plane that had like gone missing, and I was like, that's a bit weird. Like, and then as the details like emerged, it was like a Malaysian Airlines flight. I was like, Christ, we were like this Malaysian Airlines flight last night as well, and it left like Kuala Lumpur Airport in Malaysia.
No way.
And I was like, yeah, and it turns out that like we'd left maybe like 20 minutes, I think it was before or after, at the gate next to the MH370 flight. So yeah, I was just like,
where was that flight flying to? I can't remember, but I remember the story. Was it going
to China? Was it going to China?
You wouldn't have been on that flight.
No, it wasn't on the flight, but we left
close.
The flight. So we left the Malaysian Airlines flight, but it was the gate next to us, and like within a half an hour bracket or something. So we'd probably have gone through like, customs and queued up to get,
with all those people.
Scan your baggage with those people. Yeah. So that was a bit of and I've always had a fear of flying because like I sort of witnessed a plane crash when I was a kid. Like, so yeah, I was never like a big flyer either. So that kind of.
Was it a big plane or a small plane that you saw crash?
This is just before I left. This is just before we moved here, I reckon. We were driving past like the local airport. And similar to Adelaide, you can kind of like drive the whole way around it and sort of just look at it. You can park up and watch planes come and go. And we were driving past the airport, we've been shopping or something, and we're going home and just saw like a huge collection of people just sort of sat on the side of the road. And it's usually if like something like Concorde's landing or some like unique planes landing at the airport, you get a bunch of this Radio Shack type guys that will sort of, like geek off on airplanes and stuff. So we sort of pulled over and nothing much was happening. We sort of asked one of the guys what was going on. And he's like, oh, there's a jumbo jet that can't get its landing gear to work, so it's circling at the moment, and they just kind of wait. We're just here just to wait and see if they have to make an emergency crash landing or something. And I was like, okay, and we just saw these like fire engines like steamroll down the runway. So we waited around for like 10 or 15 minutes, and like we're like, oh, nothing's gonna nothing's really happening. This is getting a bit boring now. So we went to go take off. And as we got into the car, we just saw this like light pleasure cruiser, like 6-person aircraft, sort of come right over our heads. And it just like nosedived straight, like maybe like 150, 200 meters away from us. Like complete coincidence.
What?
Yeah. Like, so they're all
Different
these
airplane. But
yeah, complete different airplanes. So,
What?
like we were just like, oh my gosh, it's nosedived. They're literally right where the fire engines were as well. So they literally just got like the hose on it within 10 seconds. And we're like, my parents were like, this is a bit traumatic for these like my younger brothers. So they're like, we better head off now. But yeah, it turns out like I think the pilot was my partner's friend's dad. Like he was a pleasure cruise like sort of sightseeing pilot for this company.
Oh,
and
wow. No one
they-
survived, obviously.
Yeah, they all passed away, which is awful.
it's so sad.
Yeah, it was
God, I
a
can't
guy-
believe you flew after that.
yeah, like that was pretty. I was like, not super keen on planes. So,
Oh,
but
wow.
yeah,
I've
they're
got
probably
some wild stories.
there's a few other weird things that you see as well. Like, I remember one time. I'm not sure how many stories you want to hear.
These are great.
Yeah.
I'm trying to give you a varied. Yeah, I did a wedding once. It's going back a few years, and it was a bit of a strange day. The couple were a bit kind of, they didn't really, I think they were really drunk. They were very into their fitness, and like, we shot this wedding, and they were, it's a really lovely couple. I remember at the end of the day, went to go sort of say goodbye to the couple, like at sort of midnight, whenever it was about to finish up, and like sort of shook the guy's hand, and he sort of gave me a big hug and stuff, and thanked me for the day. And like, his wife was like really, really drunk, and she sort of like, I went to sort of give her a hug goodbye kind of thing, and she sort of like went to give me a kiss on the cheek. So I sort of put my cheek in, and she sort of just kissed me on the mouth right in front of her husband. But like, I'm not sure if she forgot like who she was or where she was or what she was doing, but she like sort of like put her lips on my mouth, and it was I was like sort of pulled away. I was like, oh my gosh, like okay. And he sort of looked. He was like obviously a little bit drunk as well, so I'm not really sure if he sort of like grasped onto what was happening. But that was kind of a strange situation. And then like I went to go deliver the photographs to him, and I think I was out to the movies with my partner for like a bit of a date night later on that evening, and went to a house, and sort of like there was candles lit and stuff, and yeah, she was like dressed up to the nines and like delivering the photographs, and I was like, oh, is your husband here? And she's like, oh no, he's away on work. Like, do you want to come in for a glass of wine? And I was like, we're just going out with my partner to dinner and a movie and stuff tonight. So yeah, a little bit strange. A little bit strange situation. I mean, could be reading it wrong. She might be very friendly, but that was a bit of a
Candles and like
yeah. So yeah, very bizarre. So yeah, I could go on with that. There's so many bizarre, sort of small bizarre occurrences that you see. So yeah,
That is bizarre.
That is actually quite hilarious. The poor guy. He's
Yeah.
away and
So yeah, good times.
those stories are
So-
great. They're great.
So funny.
Yeah.
That is so good.
I think routinely every year there's always something weird that happens.
What's one piece of advice that you'd give your couples or a couple for their wedding day?
Please don't play Ed Sheeran. For your first dance.
I think we've talked about that before.
Now
do
I've
really-
got his
oh
song
my
in my
God.
head. You know when someone mentions it?
Yeah.
Yeah, if it's on the,
He's made so much money.
he has, yeah.
He's made so much money. I think
Off wedding?
just from the wedding industry.
He's a lovely guy, but goodness me, like I can't deal with that. I can't deal with Ed Sheeran anymore at the moment. So I think like perhaps coming to the realization that there's no like set formula for a wedding day. You have to follow a certain set of rules to make it a wedding or to somehow like legitimize what you're doing. I think a lot of people fall into the trap of overthinking things really. I mean, some of from what I witness anyway, at least I think some of the more enjoyable days for couples are the ones that are like incredibly stripped back and they've just done exactly what they want to do rather than box ticking things that might appease the family, for example, or whatever it might be. So, and again, yeah, there's no real rules really. I think the only thing you need for a wedding in Australia is a celebrant and two witnesses. You can do it any way you like, any time that you like, and you can strip back as much as you want. You know, like there's really like no rules at all. So, yeah, I suppose most solid bit of advice would be just kind of do what makes you happy, really. Don't feel that you have to please other people. It's a wedding for you guys, really. It's not for your families or for your guests, So, and I think most people appreciate the fact that if you're doing something that's a bit more unique and a bit more uniquely you, I think other people enjoy it a little bit more as well, rather than just going to another wedding that's, the same formula. It runs on the same time plan and that kind of thing. So you can definitely mix it up anyway. So I would just encourage anyone to embellish it as much as they please to make it uniquely them, really. So yeah.
Such good advice.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, sorry.
Oh, no, you go.
It's a weird one. I mean, like, even from a photo standpoint, I mean, it's really strange. It's like one of the only industries that's like completely unregulated as well. Like, there's no governing body that's telling people how to shoot. I strongly feel that most people that are like documenting weddings full time have got no real like formal education from a photography standpoint either, really. So like I say, like it's you can manipulate and sort of change your day as to how it suits you, and there's no real rules. Like, all photographers are different as well. So
yeah, I agree. A lot of people think they have to do certain things, like because it's just what you do at a wedding.
Sure.
Like throwing the bouquet and cutting the cake and all that sort of thing. And so,
I mean, like, I suppose, if you're from a cultural background that has, sort of distinct traditions and stuff, obviously I think those things are a little different. But if you don't know why you're doing something, then it's...
Yeah. If you're just doing it because you're doing it.
Yeah. Is it really worth doing?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically, so, yeah.
What is most important to you when it comes to capturing someone's wedding day?
I think the enjoying part for the couple is paramount, really. Like, if they're not enjoying themselves, that's a feeling that's going to be attached to those photographs for the rest of their lives, really. So I think that kind of goes back to the point that I made before about kind of, I suppose, assessing each couple and the situation as it comes, kind of thing. Like, no two couples are exactly the same. Everyone's different. So I think people's threshold for going out and taking photographs is different as well. Some people love it, others don't. Like, I perilously hate having my photograph taken. So the idea of spending more than 15 minutes in front of a camera is abhorrent to me, basically. So so yeah, I mean, like, obviously I take pride and enjoyment in putting people through that pain, but yeah, I think the enjoyment factor is the main thing, really. And I think on the day you can have that little, like, you sort of pick up on it as well, like if they're really enjoying it. And I try to make it as fun as possible and keep things moving. There's no like lulls in the I suppose the level of hype on the day either, really. I sort of just like try to sort of maintain and sort of just roll with a relatively natural flow of emotion, I suppose, really too. So but yeah, like I say, I think, that's probably the most important thing to me, really, aside from like giving them photographs that they'll hopefully really enjoy too. So
I suppose if they're enjoying themselves, the photographs will speak for themselves, really.
It makes my job so much easier. Like I say, I think, again, like I say, a lot of that comes down to sort of like trying to pick up on those sort of subtle cues throughout the morning, and you can sort of pick up on like what their kind of thoughts and feelings are towards photos as well, really. If they're not really into photographs, like you can have a bit more of a subtle like play on it in order to get what you need. But I mean, if they're really kind of like, if they love it, then you can get right in there in the thick of them, and like it's really up to the couple as well, really. So I'd probably say the enjoyment factor is definitely the most important thing for me, really. So and again, like, like I said to you before, like, you can have great photographs, but the person taken was a bit of an arsehole to you, or like it was just like, wasn't an enjoyable experience, like that's going to be attached to those photographs for forever as well. So I think that's something that people often forget too. So, yeah.
So Dan, bonus question for you.
Sure.
If you were a dog, what kind of dog breed would you be?
And why?
And why? I think if I was a dog, I'd be one of those really lazy dogs, really. I don't think I'd be doing up to much, really. So honestly,
what is the laziest dog?
I have no idea. What is like the laziest dog?
Be a bulldog.
I was thinking like an English, like a British bulldog or something.
I could be, I've got the same. Yeah, okay.
One of Matt Dwyer's dogs.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. I've never had one, but are they lazy?
I think so. Yeah, I reckon so. I mean,
what dogs need the least exercise?
Yeah, I'd probably say some sort of bulldog. Really, you can sort of sit there and
I was thinking
eat and sleep.
The Dulux dog. The fluffy one, but it just kind of just.
Yeah, I do like painting, so maybe a Dulux dog. That's quite possible. Yeah, okay.
Dogs that sleep a lot.
I'll go with the. Is that English sheepdog, the Dulux dog?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
With the one with the hair and it like.
Yeah, it covers over his eyes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I let my hat down, my hair does do that as well. So yeah, let's go with that. I'll go with English sheepdog, I think. So
Okay, I've got another random
Sure.
bonus question. Who was your first celebrity crush?
Doesn't have to be a real person, can be a cartoon.
no, I can say what it is. And it was, I used to, this is quite embarrassing. I'm going to say, it sounds better if I say I was younger than I am when I used to do this. I'm going to say I was 12 years old. Otherwise, it just sounds incredibly creepy. But I think Vanessa Hudgens was maybe my first. So I still actually take photographs of her and Zac Efron and convincingly Photoshop my head onto photographs at red carpet events. And I'm actually pretty certain there's still like historic Facebook profile photographs of these still floating around to the point where I think it started to annoy some people at the frequency in which I was doing this, really. So
what, it was just your head onto Zac Efron's?
yeah, I think
body?
it was. Yeah. So
That's really funny.
So
High
like
School
really,
Musical
how
days.
old were you?
maybe like 21, 22.
So you didn't
That's
have a crush
okay.
before that?
I was
You
doing it
must have.
ironically, I think, but also
Yeah.
not. I
But
don't know
also,
really.
like, a
Who
bit
would have been
stalkerish.
like?
I think you guys would have been the same age though.
Yeah, possibly. Yeah, first. I don't know really. Well, that was the first person who I'd Photoshop myself into photographs of, and
It's like
Because
a
we've
new
all
level
done
of
that,
crush.
you know.
yeah. I'm not sure if I was at the point where like she came to the Westfield Marion to do a book signing. I'm not sure if I'd be the kind of guy to go up and sniff her or something, but or lick her head. But yeah, I don't know really. First,
Yeah. You didn't have any as like a child, like a kid, you know?
I think I was just too preoccupied with other things. Really, like I was, running around poking dead things with a stick and just doing what kids do. Yeah.
Poking dead things with a stick.
Maybe what was on with the from Scooby Doo actually?
Oh, the
Is it Daphne from
Daphne,
Scooby Doo?
yeah.
Could be Daphne from Scooby Doo actually.
Oh,
Yeah. Possibly. Is
The
she a
cartoon.
celebrity?
Yeah.
Is she classed as a celebrity if you're in a cartoon?
Yeah, cartoon. Oh yeah,
yeah.
Dana's
Yeah.
first
Yeah.
crush was a cartoon as well.
Who was your first crush?
Eric from The Little Mermaid.
Which one was Eric? Was it?
not the crab. I thought it was
That's Sebastian, right?
Yeah.
I thought
I was
it
gonna
was
say,
a crab.
yeah.
Yeah, the prince.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that film for a long. My brother was obsessed with it growing up. Actually,
Yeah.
he's called it the Little Marmalade. He couldn't say mermaids. So he
Oh,
called it
that's
Little
so
Marmalade.
cute. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Mine was Jonathan Taylor Thomas from
Who's
Home
that?
Improvement.
Home
From
Improvement.
Home Improvement.
Yeah. Tim the Tall Man Taylor.
Is that like a
You don't
DIY
know the show.
TV
Am
show,
I-
is it?
how much
Oh.
older am I?
No, it's yeah, you are like quite a bit older than Dan, I think.
How
No.
old are you, Dan?
32?
Oh yeah, I'm 38.
Okay,
So-
are you ready?
Yeah.
Blimey, you don't look-
I know. She does not look
So
38.
so
Great
no one
skin
knows who
routine.
Jonathan Taylor Thomas
I know
because I'm a grandma.
it was so it's like a sitcom.
Hang on, I'll
It's a
go-
comedy. It's a
Oh,
strange
okay,
show.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, you know.
It's like Queen of Kings. Do you know that?
Oh no,
King of Queens.
Oh, sorry, King of Queens. Oh my gosh.
we came from a very small British town, so our scope of like
Yes.
culture was
You've
was
got
pretty.
to know this guy, right? Like, do you remember him?
No, I don't.
I don't
suppose,
think
like-
he was
Wasn't
in very many movies afterwards.
Oh, hang on a second.
Yeah, yeah.
No, I still don't. Was he? He wasn't in like.
He was Simba in The Lion King.
Was he? Well,
yeah, but obviously it
He
wasn't
played
his face.
Randy Taylor on Home Improvement.
I'd like to know what town in England you're from
Oh, okay.
and county, is it?
Yeah, I'm from a town called Ringwood, which is like a medieval market town, basically. So, yeah, it's a very sort of quiet little place. It's right on the cusp of Hampshire and Dorset, so no one usually knows where that is anyway.
I've heard of Dorset.
You have heard of? Have you already?
Yeah. I have no idea where it is. Like,
Well, it's like the Jurassic Coast. It's actually quite a picturesque part of England, actually. Like it's it's like they got the like Durdle Door is quite a popular, famous local landmark. It's like an old like sea arch type thing, and then there's Stonehenge is pretty close by as well.
Oh,
so you have to like
cool.
basically drive through my town if you're coming from London to get to Stonehenge. So,
all right.
so if you don't get your wheels stolen off your car, so just don't stop.
Oh.
Don't slow down too fast. So, but yeah, quite a nice little part to grow up. I
And the
suppose, really.
population?
I've got no idea. It's probably a similar sort of size to like Gawler, I suppose, really.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of similar,
Yeah.
kind of sort of similar size to that, I suppose, really. So, but yeah, it's like a lot of like football players like that would like have homes around the outskirts of the town there. So there's some like kind of swanky sort of like outer neighborhoods around the outside of town and stuff that would attract some Premier League football players. So often you see like not back then, but now you probably see a few sort of floating around, which is kind of cool if you're into sort of sporting professional athletes. But yeah, no, it's a great place to grow up. Really, it's a really great place to grow up. So. But yeah, very different from here, I think. It's a different experience, really. So,
Yeah.
I think there wasn't a lot going on there, so we'd sort of make our own fun. I think like stealing dust caps off cars was a big thing. Like car wheels, like if someone had fancy dust caps, we used to steal them and like sell them and trade them at school. So, yeah, it kind of gives you a scope as to how much fun it was growing there, I suppose, growing up there. So, yeah.
And when you came to Australia, did you get into surfing?
Not immediately, no. I actually, again, I'm going to say I was a bit younger than I was because it makes the story sound a bit better. But I was a bit of a late bloomer to the surf scene, and I went up to, if you know Tomek, again another great South Australian photographer. We decided to go on a little road trip to the other side of York Peninsula, to like Pondalawe Beach, I think it was.
Yeah,
we were sort of free camping up there. And I think he's a relatively competent surfer. I think he's into his like mountain biking and skateboarding and rock climbing, that kind of thing, where I'm sort of not really. So I sort of went all out and bought myself a very expensive like wetsuit and borrowed his mate's surfboard. And we went out to Pondalawe Beach in the middle of winter.
Full on, isn't it? That,
oh yeah,
the waves
and I was like, I suppose I can snowboard, so I've got a relatively okay sense of balance. And I was after putting my wetsuit the wrong way, and it took me like 30 minutes to get to that point before I realised it was on back to front, and like another 30 minutes to get out of it. Got out into the waves, and it was just absolutely smacked around for about what seemed like an hour. It's probably about 3.5 minutes. The worst experience of my life, honestly. The absolute. I was like dunked on the ground. I was trying to swim for air, touching sand, thinking the wrong way, like back up again, like smack again. So it was like a rough as. It's like a washing machine out there. So it kind of scarred me for life, really. So I haven't been back since.
Oh,
I like the idea
that's a pretty full on. I think that's where like the very competent surfers go.
Yeah. So I kind of had this idea that you sort of go out for a surf and it'd be glassy out there, catch a few waves, come in, grab a beer or a coffee or something, and it was just horrific. Yeah, it's got a lung full of salt water, basically. So yeah.
A near-death experience.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So no, I don't surf, to answer your question. So yeah, and I probably won't again anytime soon, I don't think.
Yeah.
Did
Tomek enjoy that, or?
I think he enjoyed watching me suffer. if that, I think he probably enjoyed watching me suffer, I think. So, but yeah, then we went back and we were, like I say, we were free camping, and we lit a fire. Again, it was kind of a drizzly day. We lit a fire, and I borrowed my mate's tent, his brand new tent. He'd not even used it, and it wasn't even waterproof, I don't think either. So I was getting soaked through. We set this fire, which next to this big log we were sat on, and woke up in the middle of the night, and the log had exploded. I guess the inside of the log was super dried out. So I think the embers inside from the fire had sort of found its way into this log, which then exploded out the side, which in turn then sort of set fire to my tent. So that was a kind of a fun way to end the trip as well. So I think like anything that involves me and friends, like it never really ends well. Like if I was blindfolded in the desert, walking around and there was a dog poo there somewhere, 100% I'd tread on it. Like just the worst luck with everything. So.
That's so funny. Everywhere you go, like these wedding things catch fire, like
exactly.
Or things break.
Yeah, that's it. So that's it. Yeah.
So to find Dan, you can find him on Instagram at Dan_Evans_photography. So yeah, you can hit him up there, send him a little sneaky DM, like his photos. You can stalk his cute little baby as well.
Yeah.
It's also on Facebook, Dan Evans Photography.
It is. I'm a bit of a nightmare I jump on there routinely once a year and post a photograph up to let people know that I'm alive. I think I'm well overdue for that now this year.
That's
too,
just what Facebook's like these days.
Can you tell us what your email contact is?
Oh, blimey. It's such a long email. I need to get a short one, really. And it sounds so impersonal. It's just admin@danevansphotography.com.au. So It's a very long email. Obviously, most people will be bored by the time they finish writing it. You just give up, I think, and go for someone with a short name. So, yeah.
But people can get in contact with you via your contact page on your website.
Can do, yeah, definitely.
www.danevansphotography.com.au
Or danevansphotography.com.au.
Dane Vans is, yeah.
It's very important to make that distinction.
Spelt the same, pronounced differently.
Correct. Yeah, that's it.
Whatever your preference is.
Definitely. 100%.
Dan Evans or Dane Vance, whatever
Yeah.
floats your boat.
The man, the myth.
So we can't thank you enough for coming onto the podcast today and for your time this morning. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Hopefully you can just delve through the waffle that I've delivered today, and you get something that's salvageable. So.
It's been a great time, and it's been a wild ride with all your stories.
We definitely have to get Dan back for an episode of Dan's wild wedding stories.
Yeah.
Have my little segment maybe.
That sounds
I think
good.
we've got a few more.
Story time of Dan.
Yeah.
That sounds so good.
Yeah.
Yeah.